Hey guys, this is Stacy from EatTheBite.com, and today we'll be making cardamom chicken thighs with coconut raisin rice. I was inspired by the cardamom chicken recipe from the cookbook Jerusalem and adapted that recipe to the one you're watching here. I think you're going to love it. So let's get to it. We need to caramelize some onions, so we'll start by slicing the onion as seen here. And this is the approximate size that works well for caramelizing. We'll put the onions in a pan with some olive oil, salt, and pepper. Then we'll give it a good stir around the pan, and we're going to need to cook this on low to medium heat for about 20 to 25 minutes until the onions are nice and golden brown. I've got 6 bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, and we want to trim some of that fat from the chicken. I just look for the most obvious flaps of fat and start there. Anything hanging off should go, and I like to trim them out along the edges too. Next, we'll put the chicken thighs in a large bowl. Sprinkle some salt on top of that. After that, I'm going to use a couple of tablespoons of ground cardamom and also some ground cloves. And what I like to do is sort of turn the pieces around and make sure everything's getting incorporated on the top and the bottom, even though we're going to mix this well with our hands. After I've added the cardamom and cloves, I'll put a little bit of black pepper on there and about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And finally, cinnamon sticks, which you should break in half and throw in the bowl. And yes, I see that I have a hole in my glove, but I'm not worried. I only wore them to protect my fingernails from filling up with cardamom and cloves, which has happened in the past. So hole in the glove, oh well, moving on. We're going to get our hands in there and mix around all those spices so the chicken thighs are fully coated in the mixture. You really want to get in there and rub the oil and dried spices all over the thighs. Top side, bottom side, make sure all the thighs are coated. After that, we're going to set that aside for a moment, and we're going to get a pot going with 1 full fat can of coconut milk and 2 cups of chicken broth. We'll give it a little whisk together, and then we're going to put that pot on one of our back burners and heat it on low for now. It's time to check those onions, and it seems to be coming along nicely. Just give them an occasional stir while you're doing the other prep work, and they'll be fine. Now we're going to sear our chicken thighs and cinnamon sticks, and we're going to cook that chicken for about 5 minutes on each side. I want to render some of that fat off the chicken thighs before it goes in the oven. We're not cooking them all the way through here, just 5 minutes on each side. And here's the turn at the 5-minute mark. Don't worry about how dark the skin looks. It's not burnt. Cardamom and cloves are dark spices, and that's why the skin is dark. After I've turned the chicken, I'll give the onions another little stir, and the smell at this point is going to drive you crazy. I've taken the chicken out of my pan, discarded the chicken fat, and wiped the pan with a paper towel. And now I added 2 cups of very well-washed basmati rice to my pan. After I've done that, I'm going to take those gorgeous caramelized onions and spread them on top of the rice. Just make sure they're evenly distributed. Then we're going to add just 1 more pinch of ground cardamom and 1 pinch of ground cloves. And after we've added the spices, we'll place the chicken thighs and cinnamon sticks on top of the onions. You want to leave enough space so the chicken is not crowded too much on top of the rice. If you put too much chicken in your pan, which I've done in the past, some of the rice will not cook all the way through. Next, I'll add some golden raisins. I do prefer using the golden versus dark raisins because the dark ones tend to get a bitter taste when cooked in this kind of heat. Next, I'll sprinkle some cashews on top of that. This is optional, so if you don't have any, you don't have to use them. Your coconut milk and chicken broth should be boiling by now, and it must be boiling when you pour it into your baking dish. So just fill up the pan with the boiling liquid like you see here, and make sure you have a proper baking dish with a lid or an oven-safe pan with a lid. This dish needs to steam in the oven, and that's key to this recipe. Okay, so on goes the lid, and this will go into a preheated oven at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. While our chicken is cooking, we can chop our cilantro and dill, which we'll add to the rice and use as a garnish later. I cut off about half a bunch of cilantro, chopped it up, and put it in a ramekin. I'll do the same with the dill. I took about a half of a bunch, I'll chop it up, and I'll set it aside in a ramekin. And of course, by the end of this process, you will have
Cilantro dill fingers.
It's been 40 minutes and our chicken is ready to come out of the oven. Now we need to cover the top with foil. Make sure you cover the whole pan. Put the lid back on tightly over the foil and let it steam for another 10 minutes. You won't believe how tender and juicy these thighs turn out. The next step after this is to remove the chicken and put it on a plate. We want to give that rice a good stir and make sure all those yummy caramelized onions, raisins, and cashews get mixed well. And of course, we want to sample it. It's delicious. Then we want to add some of that dill and that nice cilantro to the rice, and then we'll give it another good toss around so everything is well incorporated. And after that, we're going to put all of this rice on a platter. We're going to place the chicken on top of that. It's going to be absolutely beautiful, and here's what it will look like. This is a great dish to serve family style, and it's got a beautiful presentation. It's such a comfort food, and I just love filling up a bowl and chowing down. So here we are again, guys. Guess what time it is? It's time to eat the bite. Wanted to give you a nice look at that beautiful chicken with the dill on it. Oh my God. And what a bite this was. That chicken is fall off the bone tender, and the sweet pop of the raisins with the dill and the cilantro is killer. This is one of my favorites to make, and I've served it to friends and families many times over the years. It's a great recipe, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And of course, you can find all of the printable recipes on my website at www.eatthebite.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you like this video, feel free to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel.